I was sending here was about towards a void, towards in a way emptiness, and about seeing and breathing. And when I left the Fine Arts Academy and the Art University, they asked me to write a book about my lectures there in the academy, and I beginning to write it, but it became so boring, and suddenly it became one novel which I was writing, and the name is The Moments of Seeing. And I mean about the moments of seeing, it's something like moments of understanding, moments of being connection, past, maybe connection to the future, past moments when you are feeling that you are understanding or really non-understanding, some kind of confusion, moments of confusion. And this kind of moments I have been using in the background of my art. When I've been confused, I try to begin to write about it, draw it, make some kind of sketches. And this is kind of also this seeing moments is something which I'm, how should I say, I am testing myself as a human being in a way. I'm going through some things and ideas and sometimes even a little bit dangerous things to investigating those moments, and I'm beginning about this picture, small and small and small and small and small, like make it bigger. This is a child's eye, and the eye belongs to that person. That person was living in Hämeenlinna, 100 kilometers from Helsinki, and he's now like 4 years old. And the look of his eyes is the look, it's me. And when I was a young children, everybody was, my father and my mother was saying, don't stare, stop staring, because I was stopping all the time somewhere and beginning to look. And that was my way of being in the childhood and understanding. And the seeing was so important for me that it has been being also troubles for me. And this is a Hämeenlinna church. Oh, what is the year? 1798 it was built. This was first like a pantheon. But the city people didn't understand. They wanted, there must be a tower in a church, and they built afterwards a tower there. But as I was like something like 4 years old, I visited there the place first time, and in the middle of the cupola was, this is not that, but there was the eye of God. And I was looking at, and I was telling that the God is seeing everything. He is there and sees whatever you are doing and what you are thinking. And for my child mind, it was very, in a way, I was a little bit afraid about that question. And again, but this one. When I went home, it was that wooden house where we were living. There was the plywood roof, and there was those knots of birch, this kind of things there, brown everywhere. And when I was going to be sleepy, I was thinking that this must be the God's eyes. They are looking at me. And somehow I had to beginning to count them. I couldn't sleep before I have count all the knots there. There was over 100 of that. But every night I didn't let people put the lights off. I have to count them because that was a kind of idea that after that I have been counted. The God is not watching me anymore, and I could go to sleep. But it was a little bit painful also for my father and mother, because it takes quite a long time to count them, and I was there and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then became another church. This is the Hattula. It's called Holy Cross Church. It's from the 14th century. And my father's mother and father was buried in this cemetery of this church. And this is something 10, 15 kilometers from Hämeenlinna. And we used to cycle with bicycle when I was young with my father to that church, and my father was taking care of those graves, and at the same time when he was doing that, I went, because the doors were open, I went in, and wow, I was amazed about that place. And then I was, again, like a child, I was thinking that if you make pictures, you can be part of the God. Pictures are making you the one, you can be nearer to the God. And that I was spending hours there and looking about those paintings. They are like, 14th century, 15th century paintings in that church. And when I came back home, I take the biggest paper which I could have and beginning to draw. And that's I'm doing still. I'm painting and drawing and doing things, but the basic is coming from this kind of seeing moments and misunderstanding and understanding, and trying to adapt to a culture, trying to be in a way human being, trying to being subject, trying to be myself. And a little bit later, it was year 1964, we were moving from that wooden house to this beautiful element house in Hämeenlinna, and I was so happy that we got we can go there, and there is a new house, and I was 6 years old when we were moving that. There wasn't that glasses in the balcony, and this was like some kind of minarets, but otherwise it's still like the window stripes, and it was like a kind of it was what the workers union was made this for the workers to rent. I could leave the God's eyes behind, because when I went in, it was totally white. There was like concrete that this nightmare was over. But that wasn't true. The God has his various ways to speak to somebody. In my sleeping room, the corner was like this, you know. There was the sharp corner there. And when I go to sleep, I was staring it as I was staring everything, and suddenly it changes. You know, this this three-dimensional thing is changing. This the furthermost point was coming to the nearest, and then there was some kind of space that wasn't up. It was space which wasn't there. It was like an imaginary space, and I was thinking that this is a space where I can. It's my own. It's my imagination. It is something that I have been make now a kind of agreement with something with I didn't have a name, but God has been gone away, and there is something which is more important. And this corner is also I was looking at and wanted that the change happens before I close my eyes and begin to sleep. And this kind of mysterious things were in my childhood, and also I have been like nourished them, and I have been having them alive even afterwards, and this kind of attitude to seeing and understanding and misunderstanding and seeing the things in a different way has been a kind of, I can't say method, but I don't like methods, but it is a kind of way I am being present in this world. There is also, afterwards, I also found Francis Bacon. He has this corner there. When I was writing and painting, and when I get ready from the school, I applied to the art academy, and I was accepted there. And this guy was, I was going there at 77, yeah. And as a painter, I went there, and it was a kind of miraculous, because I'm coming in a way with quite poor background, and nobody has been artist in my, never in my near relatives and people. And it was a kind of, I don't know how I say, but I was so lucky to come somebody. I could say now I'm coming to be an artist or whatever it is, but so it was. And can I see? This is one of the paintings I've done in the art academy in the first. No, this is 81. Hussein was asking about this painting. This was a young artist exhibition in Kunsthalle. You can see that Francis Bacon has have something affection of my work that time, but there is a kind of idea behind this also. This one here. This is like a. I was thinking that this is mirrors, and this is myself. Myself is this is three beings of myself. This is a kind of, I should say, the poet, the kind of philosopher. This is the animal soldier, and this is the lover. This was the idea about to get known the idea of myself in a way in that point, in something like 85 or something like that. And after that, this somehow they give me a grant about this work, and I have possibility to have our own exhibition in Helsinki. But what I did too, I skip painting totally, and picking the two kind of material things. There is iron and there is flame and cornelis. Some may be affected, of course. And the one wall was full of human hair, because I was in a way thinking that the materials are speaking more like directly to your memory and your imagination, and they are somehow, they are not ordering your understanding or getting nearer to the artwork itself. And there was that kind of relics and yeah, this is something like 80s first. But it was a kind of thing that I was trying to find. I said that I tried to find a own language in a way, because in the 80s, the art world also in Finland was very hot. They are picking up the young artists, and I didn't want to be one of them. And I always have been nearby Arte Povera. I have using the find objects and things like that, and try to be very humble, the way of being as an artist, and do that very easy and understandable way. But then happened something that I have it here. I've written it up. I want to read it. I'll get in there. This is a story about when I was also a child, and this is like this. My father was wounded during the Second World War, which is why we spent our summer holidays in the 60s in the summer home for war invalids. And by one lake in Finnish countryside. My father's wound was relatively minor. The 3 machine gun bullets had gone through the upper elbow of his right arm, and locked in the bullet holes seemed very mysterious and interesting. I often asked my father to let me stick my finger in those mysterious holes. And so my first night in the summer house became a significant moment in my later life. I have turned 6 that spring. I sat on the sauna benches and waited for sauna to heat up while my father added wood to the stove. Gradually, men began to enter the room, most of them lacking one of their limbs. One leg man walked with his hands up to the benches. There were men who had lost their eyesight. Some of them had been crumbled up from different parts of their bodies so that their skin was stretched like a mouth of a bag. One of the men who was missing his legs and his left arm was carried up to the rack by the joint effort. One man had silver plate on the back of his head, which forced him to wear a wet towel in the sauna heat to cool his head. It was like a turban. The dressing room was full of leg and arm replacement attached with leather straps. From this experience, I believed for many years that man's body was designed to be mutilated, that it was not complete without scars. A man's body becomes holy only through sacrifice, through offering. This belief was reinforced by the image of Jesus tortured and on the cross. A man's body is neither a place of pleasure nor an object or subject. Its function is to be mutilated. It's not its own, but that of the state or whoever is performing the sacrifice. The idea about the body mutilated and to be like whole when you are losing it. It was beginning a kind of obsession to me, and I tried to beginning to investigate that thing, and first I decided to get my own scars, and I made kind of knives and things, and there is also some of those experiences. And one of the pictures behind of this also lies Matthias Grüneweld's Christ. Then I somehow, with this kind of material installations, I begin to think that why can I get myself one of these materials of my artwork? And I didn't, in a way, planned to become a performer. I beginning to plan to make the installations where was 80 kilogram of male flesh, one of the material. And there are some also, this is I was writing to my chest, this is guilty. And there is one performance. It's this is glass and this kind of, what is that? So, yeah, put them together, and this name was Transparent Presence. It is kind of transparent presence, but it lasted normally like something like half an hour, but then your breath was in a way stopping and your blood circulation was coming to be some kind of point that you are coming to shaky. But the point of this kind of workshop was also that I didn't want to be a kind of performer in like a theatrical way. I would be like honest present, panned me to like express the feeling. I was really in the pain of these things, and I was sharing it for the people. And normally this I have done it in a way in many countries when I was and normally it is one after 20 minutes the audience have a need to come and open those things. They don't want to see it, that somebody is in pain, and that they are thinking that I have a kind of make them an experiment that have they guts to look at what is happening. But this was only the idea that half an hour, and then we take the audience away, and the performance was over. But this was there is again a not so happy thing. When I was getting in the first year student, my father was phoning me from Hämeenlinna to Helsinki that come home. I was thinking that why he wants me to come home. He said, come home before mother is there. And okay, I was thinking that something bad has happened, and I went home with train from Helsinki to Hämeenlinna, and when I opened the door, I find my father hanging behind the door. And I have to go and take him down. And this came a kind of traumatic experience also, to feeling the dead body and acting with it like that, and I couldn't in a way handle it verbally. My sisters, who were much older than me, they came home. I phoned them that father has died. Please come here. They were living outside Hämeenlinna, Turku, and whatever places, and they came there. But I was totally silent. I couldn't say anything. And when we buried him and led him to the grave, I couldn't open my hand where was that line, and it cuts my hand and the blood was bleeding, and I put my hand in my pocket and said anything. But in the next summer, my father's name was Jussi, and there's a Johannes Midsummer Eve. We always celebrated him and me, who was second name was Johannes, and I in the middle of the celebration, I suddenly take my clothes away, shouted that I'm not my father, and go back to back of the sauna, and in that is that Nokkonen? I don't know what is that. Yeah. I was going to make it around her, and I have to feel it in my body, the pain in a way, because I couldn't have any words for that happening, and then my relatives find me there. I was there. They picked me up and put some kind of salva over my body, and I'm not at that point. I was understanding that I was doing that that wasn't performative act. It was something almost psychotic thing. But for us all, I have somehow cleared the thing which we couldn't speak, and I was the one who was doing that. And by doing this kind of almost violent, ugly things, I couldn't do it in a way in my normal me, and that's why I was founded myself kind of double. And one evening I was founding myself a kind of other person with name I give Johannes. This was a text I was reading in the night. I don't have an exact picture of when I first noticed his existence, but it must have happened over a long time and several times without my knowledge. His influence of my thoughts and actions and way of perceiving the earth intensified at the same time as Seppo Salminen's life drifted into the boredom and order. Seppo Salminen's life, his way of dealing with things, with events, began to progress a way that was entirely characteristic of him, a routine. Attempts to detach himself from the world of he had created, where the people are governed with laws, principles, self-evident, the ideal world of healthy and normal people, only entangled Seppo Salminen deeper in his subjectivity and his own habits and preferences, which nothing could shake. Seppo Salminen had come to the end of his road. He had to invent and create a new person who was burdened, who is not burdened by Seppo Salminen's miserable personal history, his circle of friends, or tendency for laziness, lying, and even criminality. From all this was born Johannes as a person with only a future. Johannes had to create his own past, but and this is going and going. I was writing about that, but I somehow invented me the guy Johannes, and the Johannes performances I was showing to you. That was a kind of method to handle this kind of things, and then this was Johannes' first. This was at my father's grave. The story about sacrifice, and this is the blood was coming from his hand, and this is kind of undriven or something. I don't know. I see it in my dream, and I have to do that, Johannes, as it was. And the Johannes was also beginning to do kind of also this was this was something in the 80s. And this is how the people reacted in the way that. And the performance, in a way, it wasn't for me, in a way, performance. I was making a living sculptures or something of that kind of things. This was in Poland, I think so, in the 80s. We were traveling in some kind of underground art scene and making those performances also in Soviet Union and Germany and wherever. But this some kind of personal investigation about the male body and my father's suicide and this kind of sacrifice. It takes time, but I somehow could read of it. I was asked to make a performance in Taipei, Taiwan. And I go there and I visit the museum there, and I see one of there is a kind of scholar. He is also staring hours and hours, and he was staring about the moon. And the ink painters of the Chinese, they try to make a perfect moon by the ink, and it was a kind of the most difficult task to paint the moon, and they were looking at it, and I was creating one performance. I give it the name the Moon Watcher. This is some, okay, I'll give another example. Yes, this is in the Kunsthalle, Finland, Helsinki. I was drawing in the opposite wall by charcoal moon, and there was milk in this circle, and I was this clothes I was putting in the ink, and I was standing there every day in a way, several hours, 6 hours or something, and ink was dripping down. Gradually it was coming, and it came the moon in my, I was looking at the moon, and the experience was going through my body and changing to the moon in the ground. And then I was concentrated about breathing and standing. It was so little I was doing. I was doing anything else, but the ink was dripping to my legs and moving the milk to moon. And at the same time, there was coming to importance of standing. And I was beginning also at the same time paint my legs. This is winter legs. They are in the snow. And because this is, I call those the private space. This is a kind of, and here's that these are dirty legs. But the feeling, the ground, breathing, standing, doing nothing became a kind of very important to me. Somehow sharing the tiniest thing I could do with the audience. And there is one work where I was against the wall, this thing, and I take a hair on my here, and this is a kind of hair also, and when I was breathing, the hair was moving like this. You could see my breath, and this last every day like 8 hours. I was standing there and breathing and showing the breath. And there is also a guy who is admiring. What the hell is happening? I came to an art exhibition. What to give my money back? I like this some kind of. This I have used this because this is some kind of pajama. But when as a little boy, when I was counting those eyes of the god, I was so nervous that I was beginning to eat my pajama. I ate it, and And until 1 year, it was like only the holes. It wasn't any pajama, but I always, in the evening, I put it on and went to bed and began to eat it. And next, in the Christmas, I get a new one. But I found it in a way, the idea that because it's difficult to, if you put something on when you are performing, it has a meaning. And if you have a suit or what kind of, whatever clothes you have, they are bearing a meaning also. And this was my decision to do it. And then I get from to here. This is from Assyria. They are also stirring. They are stirring God. There is a man and woman who are like praying and staring. These are my friends. They are sharing the same ideas in the world. And I beginning to do also. This is the me and my wife as a ragdolls. We are living our life, our bourgeois life. There is another. This is not that one. It should be this one here. This is like those Assyrians. But the idea wasn't, in a way, I found it later. Of course, I have been reading about those Assyrian statues, but the idea of these works was coming from this, one Ike's Arnold Feely. And I tried, because I was a kind of, yesterday I was telling that I was born in a rebellious time. In a way, I was 6 years old in '62. There was hippies, there was movements against Vietnam War, there was Jimi Hendrix, there was whatever. We were against, I was a little boy, and we were against everything. Our ethos, my generation ethos, is be against, be something, be against, and be against Russia and Soviet Union at that time, and also the religious, military, whatever, police, everything. They were our enemy, and we were against it. But when I was, in a way, selected as a professor in the Academy of Fine Arts, I find myself living like a bourgeois life. I have my own house, wife, and child, and it was so secure that I almost get sick about that, in a way, because it was all I was against before. But then I woke up and I was living that fucking life. Yeah. And I try to be, again, analyze it like I try to analyze my father's death. And this was one of the works I was done with my wife. I have done many of the work. This called Still Life, Double Portrait, Tragedy. This is kind of something you are moving as an object, in a way. You can't move anymore, and you are like in the shell, and your ideas are as clarified and as these glass objects or as empty vases. And you are beginning like act like a normal person. And this is, of course, the memento mori. Remember, you are going to die. This is the same kind of idea about what was behind this still life. The life was still, and this is again the same. I have to find here. This name is the discussion. We made this kind of mask, and there was paper, and the other could draw the face, what was the feeling, and we were discussing to each other by sitting there in our kitchen and showing to each other how we were feeling. We didn't ourselves know what was the smile or what was happening there. This is also, we also like show it in the museum by doing this kind of thing. They take some hours also. Where I have been, I just with Hussein counted that I have been my wife for 46 years. Yeah. I'm happy she is also like she's an actress and a theater researcher, that we have been could do same kind of things together. There is one thing we made a kind of, what I should say, the autopsy of that our life. This is something I cut. This is a piece of our home taking to an exhibition. We made those these ragdolls things. We were standing or sitting here and staring around. This also, yeah, there is some kind of but that was a thing I was also going to kind of to an end. I didn't like my life and I couldn't find enjoyment in a way of doing art or this kind of things. And then one of the women artists in Finland asked me to participate in a big exhibition they were making about Holy Teresa and his, what is that, excitation, yeah, Holy Teresa thing. And this is the story when Holy Teresa was feeling the God was in himself, because that there is the arrow was going through her chest, and at that painful moment he was feeling the God's love more than ever. And I was beginning also to practice for that exhibition for 1 year before. I have in my cellar, this is my cellar, which is also my workroom. What is there? I don't remember when I have been this. Yeah, still life there. Last artist exhibition. There I was with my wife, we were young. What books there? Richard Serra, Ansel Kiefer, Perspective, Morandi, Louis Bourgeois, Islamic Geometric Design, William Blake. Yeah, this is my study in the cellar of our house. There is our kitchen. And I take all the things away from there and beginning to practice also cellar practices in every day. There was this was one of the practices. There were like 3-hour candles, which my wife was putting in a way on with those candles, and I was standing against the wall and breathing there, only being present. This happens every day. And this was the second thing I was practicing. And you see there is the same holy space, my own corner, imaginary corner. And somehow the performance, she came back again. And then after that, I have my friend in my studio, and this is kind of comfortable whale. He's having the kind of, he's helping me not to see. He's covering my face. And they made in the museum the same measures that my little studio is, and I make the same things there also. The first, what I was, don't go away. I was putting a clay on myself, and when I was there, I get some kind of touch that this is concrete also. And here it is where I was against the wall. And then there was a kind of, this was the kind of understanding the measures. This is a hand of that skeleton, and it makes a kind of measures to that practice. It gives kind of idea about the wholeness, to being part of a little circle, a bigger circle, but in the human scale. This all had to happen in a way that one human scale. And this was, I think it was 2 months open, this exhibition, and two times a week I was doing these so-called practices there. But after that, it was being forbidden under 16 years old. This exhibition. I don't know why, but that kind of things happens. There is one thing, there is the hair in the wall. This was being piece of that at my father's grave, that underground thing. This is iron, and there is snow and ice on it. It is working like that. There is some 25 degrees of cold on that plate, and I come there, I wet my clothes and my hair, and I go and lie there until I'm like freezing in that iron. And I have a knife with me when I go there, and at some point I'm going to cut myself out of that grave. and that's masculinity. There is that my friend. He was a skeleton of the Fine Arts Academy. It has been there like from the 1920s. There is a kind of story that it was a dead prisoner and nobody wanted his body, and it goes to the university and it turned to be like an anatomical model to our academy. And all the artists from the 20s in Finland has been drawing this. I was drawing it in 1977. But when the academy was moving, the guy was so bad condition that they tried to throw it away, but I was asked that, can I get it? And they give it to me, and it was in my studio with me. This is one. This is a concrete pillar, and it takes like 4 hours to walk here and another 4 hours to go back. And this is called self-portrait with unknown, because we don't know who he is. And during these performances, I have here is, we have so warm relation. There is one other performance. But during this performance, I have a kind of text there, self-portrait with the unknown. I was a good boy, you were a good boy. We were good boys, that was good. I was a bad boy, you were a bad boy. We were bad boys, that was bad. I am an artistic man, you were an artistic man. We were artistic men, this is art. I'm alive, you're dead. We are alive and dead. This is my life. I live a good life. You had a good life. We lived a good life. This is good life. I have a work. You had a work. We had a work. This is my work. I'm present. You are not present. We were present. This is a performance. I have fun. You had fun. He had fun. This is fun. I'm bored. You are bored. We are bored. Life is boring. I'm boring. You were boring. We are boring. This is boring. I hate. You hated. We hated. This is hate. I love. You loved. We loved. This is love. I have sex. You had sex. We had sex. Life is sex. I'm eating. You ate. We ate. Life is eating. I drink. You drank. We drank. Life is drinking. I sit, you sit, we sit, this is shit. I want to sleep, you wanted to sleep. We wanted to sleep, sleep well. I paid, you paid, we paid, this is our payment. I forget, you forgot, we forgot. This we will be forgotten. I don't want to die, you didn't want to die. I will die. This is fear of death. The text is printed or it comes from the loudspeakers during the exhibition. This is a kind of dialogue with that unknown, and it is also somehow somehow write a very, very simple self-portrait. This was in the poster, me and my friend in the modern art exhibition. And somehow I beginning paint again, and this is a thing I'm doing. This is 4 meters wide painting about the apple tree. It is I called it self-portrait as an apple tree. I have painted like 8 years, and it was formally, it was like this. The idea in that this first tree, this is the same painting, was coming in also my childhood. In that wooden house, we have the apple tree in our courtyard, and behind of it I can see the street lights. And when the branches were moving, the street lights was having, I was thinking that there might be angels or something who had something to tell to me. I was afraid about that tree, but also I was very keen of that. And now what I'm doing, I'm painting over and over this tree again. There is now like 2 centimeters of oil painting in that, because when I have got ready with that, I begin to paint new one. When I go back now, it waits on my backyard, this thing, and I waited that the first snow is snowing on it, and I begin to paint it at the winter. But it is going to be living and living. I'm living with it. I'm somehow only painting the same canvas again and again and again. It changes the autumn, summer, or what part of the year it is. But this was like a early spring or something. The snow is not melted yet, and there are not any green on the, and it is one of the thing is this is for me the point is those empty spaces between the branches, because the dealing with this emptiness or the void is more important than dealing with this tree itself. I am like filling those empty holes with the paint, and also I am scratching the old paint away from there. And there's some there, because it's out, there is rain and everything, it is got damages, but it has its own life like me, and we are like my skeleton friend, we are living. This is another self-portrait. And it is continuous and going and going and going. And there is this is some kind of, not finished. This is the name, because I have still all my limbs and legs and arms left. And I look at it like I don't know, it is like a dog or something in the waiting for that executioner. But one which is still there, this is that same I who is looking and try to understand what is happening and try to use art as a method to understand as being a part of life and people and general culture and things around. This is one of my favorite Samuel Bacon, fail again, fail better. This is somehow, it is something which is very important for me, and this is my way. I thought that artists should concentrate in his work in this kind of attitude, because succeed is might coming to be a kind of prison for you. Yeah. But the other as important sentence is this: if you are not completely naked, wrap your beautiful robe of words around you and continue your sleep. It's Mevlana Rumi who has said that. And this is also for me the kind of understanding that you have to come and you can do. Otherwise, you are still only sleeping and not being present. Okay, I think this thing comes somehow in the end, but I put this, some people has been seeing this, but this can be in the background. This is about one performance, but if you have something to ask or something, please, this can go on there. This is in the Museum of Performing Arts in Helsinki. This exhibition, there is this hair and body parts, there is that eyes. There is eyes and again. There is no iron boxes. I found them. I had the kind of idea that artist is a kind of bricklayer who is going to the places and pick up things there and put them together in a different way. And this, I was asked to go to Poland to have an exhibition. There is a nice story about that, because I had I was using that human hair. I had a big bag of human hair with me, and also those knives which I was guarding me. And in the customs, they stopped me and asked to open that bag, and I opened it, and we got the serial killer here. And they took their guns out and said, "Mr. Here." And I said, "This is art." "No, we know art. This is not art." "No, this is not painting. This is not sculpture. This is nothing. This is something disgusting." And I have to phone to the art director, and he came there and he was telling, yes, said the customer guy, "Tell whatever, I don't trust. This is not art, but go." But I found this in the backyard of that museum and bring them in that, and went in of that. that other box, and I was pumping the water from that other box in that other, and I was like in a way suffocating there because this was I couldn't breathe there. There wasn't any oxygen left, and I get a kind of dizziness and whatever. But put a little bit further. But please, if you have something to ask. I try to answer. I don't know if I can, but this is the heartbreaking of Johannes. But performance, this said it has to be seen in present. This dealing with body measures and feeling the other people in the same space, and this kind of this is only a ghost, that performance. I think this was 92. Mhm. And this is kind of enlightenment, I think so. Hüseyin. So the solitude and the environment, very great. Oh, eyes again. Goes there. But freezed. That's nice. As former himself. And there you start. Take a print apart. It's also kind of mind map about why and what I'm doing, and I try to show it to you, the background a little bit, how I came to these kind of things. I'm now looking a little bit different angle, but they have been so important. All the things in which you're seeing video are owned by the Contemporary Art Museum. Thank you.